ceremony from the Unified Film Festival. It was very, very exciting because, as you might know, this film festival, so the Unified Filmmakers Festival, is brand new. It's, as I said on stage yesterday, it's one of the first Corona babies were born. So our aim is to bring together filmmakers from all over the world. And we had this competition, the Short Film Festival, with amazing movies from all over the world. I think it's about 500 movies sent it to us, and finally we showed all of the winners yesterday on a screening, about 13 films. And I'm so happy because we have some of the fantastic filmmakers here on stage, but also on Zoom, because it's Corona times. And each year, the Unified Filmmakers Film Festival has one subject. And this year, it was like, what could we talk about? What could be a nice subject from all over the world? Maybe the second baby of Prince Harry and Meghan. No, let's take Corona. Everybody was touched by this. The whole world has got to stand together. And yeah, we showed all of these wonderful films talking and working about Corona. Like, for example, Sevgi Hirschhäuser. She's with us here tonight. Please give a hand to her, and please give a hard hand.
Thank you.
So good to have you here. Your career is absolutely impressive. We will talk about that, what you're doing right now, and what Corona meant to your life. And we have Sam Batur with us. We know each other from yesterday because you won one of the wonderful awards for your perfect film, Hot Water, a short film you will tell us about later. But now, please give a hand to Sam Batur as well, please.
Thank you.
Oh yes, even on Zoom they are doing. That's fantastic. Okay, so we have, let's start with Shraya Patel. And I think that she is sitting in front of her laptop in Montreal. Is that true, Shraya? So now I feel really like being at home. Technique doesn't work, okay? We all know from home, but we can see you laughing, so I guess even you know this situation. We will try to change this, so I will switch to, let's take Tajji Balogun, and he's from Nairobi, I guess, in Africa you're sitting. So let's see how technique works in Africa right now. Can you hear us, and can we hear you? Same in Africa, we are unified with technical problems. I love it. Singapore's laughing. Ken Kwek. So how's Asia now? I mean, normally Asia is is one of the best countries what is about techniques. I think my TV comes from Asia as well. Can you hear us, Ken? Well, maybe there's somebody who can read lips in the house? Not yet. Not yet. Okay. But Eli Jean, what's about Canada? Hello, Canada. Eli Jean Tahchi. No chance, Eli Jean. You look great. You look great. I mean, you all look great. Maybe we just talk about like this and you're doing like this or that, or we can show emojis. Maybe, yeah.
They were unmuting it when they were trying to speak.
I'm sure it's not their fault. I'm so sure it's not their fault. But, I mean, we have got two real people right now here. So you guys, okay, you try to get contact with our guests from all over the world. And I start right now here with Sevgi and Sam. Is it okay for you? Please give us a sign. Yes, thank you. Oh, that's the international language. So they tell me in 5 minutes we can hear you, okay? And if Germany says 5 minutes, it's 10 minutes, okay? So, Sevgi, it's very interesting what happened to you because I don't want to call you a newcomer. You're quite young, I can tell. maybe your age, you're 27, but it's unbelievable what you did in your life so far. Let's talk about your movie Toprak that has driven the whole world crazy. I've heard that it's about 40 awards you won so far with this film. So please tell us about Toprak.
Firstly, thank you very much for being here. It's a very beautiful feeling, and with this all filmmakers and especially you. And being part of the film festival is also very important for me too. And about my movie, yes, I'm 20.
Realize that, oh wow, to keep people at home during the pandemic, regardless of where you are, the artists are the ones who are actually keeping you busy. Like if the government says sit at home, you have to read a book, you have to watch a film, you have to listen to your music. The artists actually create all of those things that you're actually consuming. So I think the value for us is we started understanding the value that artists have in the lives of the people. Although they were not, quote unquote, we never get the credit of calling us I've forgotten what is it. Those who work, essential workers. Yeah, we're not called the essential workers during those hours during the pandemic, but we felt like there was a need to capture those moments when the doctors or the health practitioners, social workers were on the field, trying to get people to just leave and hope that they can beat this virus. I can't speak for the entire continent, but because the continent is 54 countries, but I can speak for a variety of filmmakers that I was constantly in communication with during the pandemic, who were feeling like, oh my God, I really need to go out and cover something. I really need to go out and so just document something. But there's no access to all of those things because you as an African filmmaker, we also survive based on funding that we get from the West or from NGO works. But yeah, so that's pretty much it. But I just think it's just a good thing from the last speaker talking about how she got all these people together and to submit a video of what they are experiencing within their own community. And that's how unified filmmakers. I just find it very intriguing and relevant at this age and time.
Yeah, I can imagine that there are some people telling, oh, Africa needs so many different other things, maybe. Of course, vaccination, for example, which is really a catastrophe how it works right now worldwide, I guess. But okay, that's my personal opinion, and we could talk about for hours about this catastrophe right now. But why or in how far do you think that filmmakers could help? Can movies really help making the situation better, or in how far is there a responsibility or whatever the situation to bring some joy and some not just joy but also to show the world what went wrong right now?
Yeah, I think I just got off a call before I came on this one, and that's the reason why I came late. I'm sorry for that. I think, and what I was saying in this call was that I think more and more we are beginning to understand the value of artists, of especially filmmakers, because we are the only ones that document history. If you want to know a history about Munich at this moment in time, or Germany, or Europe, the most relevant medium of content that we all fall back to is documentaries. We want to watch a documentary of what has transpired in the past, and to learn about to proceed in the future, you must learn about the past. And now we are beginning to see that all this I want to travel, I want to go to all these conferences, I want to do all of these things, it still boils down to how informed are you. And information comes with the responsibility of filmmakers and journalists who are capturing this moment to tell us what has happened in Syria, what is happening in India, what's happening in Malawi, in South Africa, what's the situation over there. And that's the reason why a lot of people were glued to the TV, because they wanted to know what's going on. Yeah. And the TV was also not helping because, at some point, I think health specialists had to tell people to just, I think WHO as well, like stay off the TV because it gets, the pressure up. Because we just wanted to, just numbers of deaths that we were just consuming last year. But I think filmmakers have more power to now use this film to start giving a message of hope, a message of you can make it, a message of, and you can actually be your own filmmaker and report what is happening within your community with your smartphone. And I think that's more and more what we are seeing, that, we can actually have more storytellers who can tell stories within whatever capacity or budget that they have. So it's just an incredible time, and Netflix became really huge last year because people were at home, they need content to keep themselves busy, and I realized that they were actually putting more emphasis onto like comedy stuff because people wanted to laugh. So there were a lot of Netflix special as well. So you can see the narrative, and these are the things that all these techie companies, they're getting our data to know how we behave and how that actually informs the type of content they're actually providing to the people. So we have the power as filmmakers to actually, keep telling those stories.
Thank you so much. That's very important and nice to hear. So Eli Jean, you're a little bit tired, maybe because of your celebration party yesterday, because you won the first prize here. Yes, they gave you a hand now.
I just knew like yesterday, but there were no celebration. We're still like in a kind of lockdown here. So I'm tired because it's 8 a.m. in Montreal.
Oh my God. Okay. Oh, thank you for having you. Thank you that you woke up for us. So, your movie is called Sometimes I Wish I Was on a Desert Island. Could you please tell to the people who haven't seen it yesterday, shame on you, what it is about?
Well, sometimes I wish I was on a desert island because I missed the sun in Montreal. I wanted to escape the cold. First of all, I had this idea that it's an expression that we use sometimes to escape our reality. And living through the pandemic and the confinement and the experience of lockdown, first of all, I started thinking about being part of the LGBT community. And I was making this parallelism between the lockdown we are living in the emotional confinement and lockdown many LGBTQ2+ individuals around the world still living in. So living in the closet for years and having to put a distance from other people, not be able to open up to others, meant a lot for me. And I wanted to make a film about beyond the curve, beyond the pandemic, and show how for these individuals living in lockdown is nothing new, and they are still facing, even in Canada, in a place where they have the rights to live their true selves, they are still living in the closet, especially people of color and Arab individuals.
Yeah. So you're Lebanese born and now living in Canada, as you told us. Could you explain a little bit more in how far Corona also changed the world of LGBTQ people? So the Corona situation.
Well, I think the individuals struggled a lot during the pandemic, and I cannot generalize, but from the stories I heard, especially for people that are still living in the closet, still living with the family, being locked down with their family during the pandemic, it was very hard for them because they hadn't the chance to go out, see their friends, so they had have lots of struggles related to mental health. Also, people in Lebanon, for example, people living with HIV, for example, they had struggles getting their medicines, and yeah, people with vulnerable people, they couldn't have like the chance to work or make money. It was really hard for them. So yeah.
So thank you very much for your movie. We really enjoyed it. What are your personal next perspectives? What does it mean to your work, for example, winning now this award here in Munich?
Well, this film was so special to me because 1 year ago I couldn't imagine I could make a film during a pandemic and from my room, because this film was made not by myself. I had a crew, but we made it like through Zoom. So I wanted to translate the confinement idea through the aesthetic of the film. So yeah, I did it from my room, and still from now, like there's like the animators. I haven't met them like in person. So what this film like proved to me that we can still like connect. We can still tell stories during this. We should actually tell stories during this period and hard period, and we can still be creative and collaborate. So if we made like films, and I watched like many films in the festival, if we can still make films during this period, like there is no other excuse to continue and make films in the future.
Okay, so good luck. Thank you. We are really looking forward to see much more of your wonderful work. So Ken Kwek to Singapore. So we hope it's getting better now. I'm not quite sure if it was from our side or maybe just in space. So anyway, congratulations. You got the first prize of the Audience Award. Does it mean, yes, once more. Is it very special to get an audience award compared with a jury award? Or is it the same? So award is award. Give it all to me. I take what I get.
Well, no, it's an absolute honor, and I'm very happy to receive the award. I think it is extra special to win an audience award in a time when we can't be with audiences. And as it happens, my film, The Pitch, is it's sort of like a docu-comedy about the theater industry in Singapore. And as some of my fellow panelists were talking earlier on, the thoughts about what is the value of art, or what is the value of film, and how can we contribute, all these were ideas that were swirling around my head as we were making the film, not least because, at least in Singapore, two things happened at the time of making the film. One, there was a major newspaper survey done, and it listed all the jobs in the world from the most essential to the least essential. And of course, artists and filmmakers were right at the bottom, which is no surprise given a crisis situation like the pandemic. But at the same time, as Taye earlier on said, what we do is we sort of tell the stories of what's happening. We don't create our art in a vacuum. And the question always then is, do we make art for people to escape from? Or do we tell stories that show people's real lives? So I think with The Pitch, there was this tension about trying to explain that storytelling is important, whether it's in film or whether it's in theater. And of course, the theater folk here in Singapore, nobody's going to feel the most sorry for theater people, and perhaps there is that is fair enough. It is not the most essential thing compared to healthcare and other frontline emergency workers, for sure. But at the same time, these are companies that have been providing people with an insight into the human condition for years, who in better times dealt with very difficult themes and very, very difficult subject matter, and did it in a setting where people came together to do it. So more than in film, theater lives on a collective life human interaction.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So I think the fact that we're all sitting here in a black box is quite poignant to me as well. This idea that the pitch was really to show that no matter how hard the situation gets, we have to try and create something. If nothing else, simply to relieve ourselves from the burden of consciousness. And these are pretty difficult times to begin with. So the idea of having a comedy about the theater coming together through film was an attractive idea. As it happens, soon after the film was made, theaters reopened partially in Singapore. And the 3 theater companies that this film is about have since created a sequel that is performed live on stage. So we are hoping that things will slowly come back to normal, and that in time, panels, discussions like these will be held in person in front of a full crowd. So thank you all, and thank you for your wonderful work.
Yes, thank you so much. Yes, we are looking forward to it. And I really hope that you will go on tour and come here to Germany one day. So I heard that you started doing theater. And I've heard that the pitch should be your very first movie. I can't imagine that. Is that true, Ken?
No, it's not.
Okay.
It's not. I've sort of straddled film and theater.
Yeah.
In my career for the last 10 or so years. I have a love for both media, but then I think this pandemic was, for better or worse, gave me an opportunity to try and combine the two.
Yeah, that's interesting what you say. That maybe, I mean, should be a little bit careful to say, but maybe there could also be a kind of chance in this situation. Do you know what I mean?
I think that the kind of stories that theaters that have been able to restart their operations, not just in Singapore, but around the world, whenever there is theater, we have to be careful. We have to tell stories that aren't, not full-blown musicals with casts of 100 people singing and huddling in a crowded theater. We do have to take precautions. But just as it is in the cinema, I think it's a question of the audience being comfortable in a new reality. So, for example, you're not going to sit directly next to someone. You'll be seated 2 seats away. You'll be wearing a mask. But no matter what, the desire, I think, to get yourself out of Zoom, out of your home, and into a movie theater and into an actual live theater, that impulse, at least for me, it refuses to go away. So sooner or later, we should all be able to gather again, because there is nothing like that collective experience. I mean, I would love to see Toprak not just on a small screen in my home, but in a cinema together with different people, with other people.
For example, together with Sevgi, yes, of course. You're invited.
Sure.
But it's so interesting, Ken, because your movie worked so well on huge screen yesterday. Of course, I've seen it before on my little small laptop, but it's totally different to see it on screen. Otherwise, I might say that other movies, really brilliant movies, that got awards yesterday as well, it was different. Maybe the opposite. They worked very well on a small screen, which is not bad, in my opinion. But I've got another question. It's also your story, the pitch, as a theater worker, might I say. Was it also kind of a psychotherapy for you to make this movie?
To be sure, there was relief to be working after a period of lockdown. At this point, I do want to sort of jump in and also congratulate Eli, because just to follow up your point, Eli, about the big screen and the small screen, like what Eli did was he created a very cinematic little story, but in lockdown, all by himself, with just audio and with animation. I think what your question points to is, what can cinema do? What are the tricks of our trade that allow us to create, whether we're outside with people or inside stuck with just like a little iPhone camera or your laptop camera? And the effect of watching something on a small screen like your phone is very different from watching it on the big screen. I mean, there's scientific studies that shows how your heart rate differs, or how your eyes dilate different, and also how the collective breathing and laughter of your fellow audience will change the way you react to the story being told on screen. So I think this pandemic is like making us like toggle back and forth between an old-fashioned love for big screen cinema. And I just happened to have had the opportunity to tell a story where I was in a theater. So I could film like this big empty theater, which is ironically very cinematic, with very dramatic lighting.
Yeah, absolutely.
So
Shreya
toggle between that and like the small screen, and appreciating small stories on the small screen. Yeah.
Yeah. So we are happy here at the film festival that we've got the chance to see different works. It works in different ways, and we have so many different films here. You can all see on our homepage from the Unified Filmmakers. Shreya Patel, I would like to come back to you because you're so impressing. You're on the Forbes list as well for the most influencing people under 30. Is that right? Maybe you've got the the perfect description of this.
Yeah, I was nominated in 2019 and I was flown to Berlin for the summit, and that's where I met other listers and stuff, and I'm in a group with them on WhatsApp. So that's how I was able to collect so many countries and things like that, and as well as global shapers communities around the world.
Yeah, it's fantastic. So good to have you here. So your influence is quite big, quite tall. What do you think, what could a film festival do right now? Is there any chance? I mean, we stay together by Zoom. It works quite well, okay? But what can we do? Maybe we've got a responsibility. You could once more explain to us. Like, for example, Tijo told us.
I think films have the power to make people feel things. And right now, because everyone is home, even with everything that happened last year with Black Lives Matters and things like that, it was only and only, why did that happen? It was because of the power of filming something on the camera, on your phone, and documenting it and showcasing to the world what is going on. So this is our responsibility to tell these stories even while we're at home. And everyone, I'm just like adding on to what everyone said. I believe everything that you guys said, because film, it's history. You're making history, and it's art. You know, a lot of people like are more inclined to watch something than to read something these days, especially young generations. So what we are creating, especially during lockdown, every single one of you here created history. Because 20 years down the line, 30 years down the line, 100 years down the line, when people look back at what we created, this was history. And that's, I think it gives me goosebumps that we're all here connected with the whole world, because we were not able to do this even like 2 years ago. And yes, it's sometimes, you know, you're like, we're waiting to get back in person, but this is kind of interesting. And when I was making Unity, that's what I realized, because I wasn't able to connect with 66 countries. There was over 103 cast members in that film, in that documentary. I would not be able to connect with them if it wasn't for COVID. So it's kind of interesting, and it brings together a lot of people, which is nice too. But film did that for me, and I think film did that for every single one of us. It united us, just like how it is right now. and that's special.
So your movie Unity is kind of same idea like the Unified Film Festival. For example, yesterday we had another movie got the first prize short film award up to 5 minutes, I guess. Phosphorus. You can see it as well on the homepage. It's just 2 minutes 20 seconds, I guess. It's little matches playing without voices, of course. So the matches made me cry, and the idea behind it was so clear. So maybe also movies can be like music, for example, unifying people because everybody can understand while feeling it, right?
With music, that's so interesting that you brought up music, because right after I finished Unity, I was hired as a director to do a music video, which was similar to Unity.
Yeah.
It's called Freedom Dance. So I was hired by a music producer in India, and I was in Canada, and we had influencers, actors, models from around the world who I directed and scripted what inner freedom means, because a lot of people felt like they lost their freedom, including myself. But then we realized that maybe freedom is not what we show other people. Maybe freedom is from what is within, and we have to seek that. So we made this music video called Freedom Dance, which actually went viral. We got like 1 million views in 2 weeks. It's hit like 12 million views on YouTube, and Rolling Stones India reported about it. I was like, what is going on? It's so crazy. But this all happened during COVID, and music really got to people. I think that's why it went viral, because people were able to connect to every single person who was in it.
Yeah. Thank you. So we've got a small audience here. We are so happy to have them. And I would like to ask if you have got questions. I mean, it's the Unified Film Festival. We would like to unify you all here together. Just raise your hand, and we've got a microphone so you can hear the questions. And I also know that Zefki, for example, she had a question, right, to Ken Kwek?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, go ahead.
Not a question, but I would like to say that I was in the Unified Filmmaker Film Festival in the jury member, and I had chance to watch the movies of your movies. I just want to say it was really strong, and I wanted to say that success has to go on, and I'm so lucky to be part of the in the film festival that I had chance to watch your film. I was always wondering before this organization, I will have chance to see them in this lockdown. I will have word them. How can I add them from Facebook or Instagram? I was looking for the reasons, and today I was so happy that we will have a Zoom call with you. I wanted to say thank you very much for joining and making these movies coming out. I'm just so proud also that you can catch the time. I made my movie before the COVID, and I was fighting for the kind of how can I show my movie around, and how can I reach to more people. And when we are getting awards, I didn't have chance to go to film festivals and so on. And in this time, exactly in this time, I had chance to be inside of the film festival, and I started to suddenly had the chance to look from another side of the perspective, because I was looking for my movie to show another people, and now I had chance to see another people movie, and exactly in the COVID time. That's why now I understood catching a moment is very important, and thank you very much for making all these movies.
That's really touching. Thank you so much for your words. So we've got a question. I think online we got a question, right? This is Annika talking now. She's from the team. Give a hand to Annika, who worked as a horse the last weeks.
I have a question to everyone. Hello, everyone. Welcome. So what do you think the pandemic is going to change in the film industry in the long run? How do you think filmmaking is going to change in the next years maybe, and in 10 years?
Maybe we start here with Sam Batur answering, and after you just raise your hand if you want to answer.
Wow, what the pandemic will change. See, I think the pandemic already changed the whole filmmaking industry from the ground up. Already, Netflix has already seen like 70% market share increase since the last quarter and everything, and that's just online streaming services, and then cinemas are coming back even stronger than ever. I think this is currently the prime time for cinema, whether it is online cinema, whoever is making videos, say even for YouTube, not even like concrete filmmakers, and filmmakers that are making movies that are going to be screened in cinema, and especially film festivals nowadays. Because everyone wants to watch something, everyone wants to go out. Filmmakers are more excited than ever, especially, at least from experience. I see student filmmakers, because they've been stuck in a pandemic the whole time, and for some reason pandemic really squishes the creativity of someone when they're stuck at the house the whole time. Because I've met a lot of extroverted filmmakers that really get inspired by speaking to other people and seeing many different things. So having them sit at the house the whole day was really crushing. So now, once everything is sort of being elevated and everyone getting vaccinated and all that, I'm seeing a spark in creativity when it comes to making films and producing them. You can just compare the differences between during the pandemic and right after it. Right now, movies are being pumped at a vast rate. It is insane. And I have to say, I'm really glad about that. It's really nice seeing an industry that struggled badly for a good 2 years now during COVID, and it's nice seeing an industry getting back on its feet, even though there's still a lot of downsides from it, especially working on set and all that, and having to go through all the regulations of trying to make a movie, which is arguably one of the most teamwork jobs, and then having to, keep a distance between you and the director. So if you're shooting, it's really weird. But I would say I'm really glad about how it's shaping up, and I think right after, even when the whole thing is finished, it's gonna rise even higher. The opportunities are endless currently, and whether it is just filmmaking or even advertising or TV, anything media related, everything is growing through the roof, and I think that demand will soon rise up, and I think these are pretty exciting times. I'm making a positive thing out of COVID.
Absolutely, yeah. But Sam, may I say something? I mean, I'm sitting next to you here, Corona, 1 meter 50. So, but I can see your bright eyes, and it's so nice to listen to your words and your youth and optimism. But finally, it's also a question about finance. It's always a question of money. I'm on the audience side. Of course, I would like to see all of the movies now. And please do all of these movies you think right now about. But for example, Hello Africa again. So what's the situation? I mean, there are the artists waiting for their moment. But is it that easy just to say, now it's our time?
Thank you once again. Listening to him, I'm also very, I would love to, ride with him. But on the flip side, I'm like, no, because I'm in a generation of young people. I still consider myself young, where people are really fatigued, just watching something in one small laptop. I can tell you that for a fact. I mean, based on some of my friends that I know, people are just like, I don't know what to watch on Netflix. What do you recommend? Because there's too much of it. And when something is too much, you get overwhelmed. And I like what Ken said. And that's the thing about, I think, I'm part of this think tank, and we keep talking about what's the future. Like now there's Netflix, there's Amazon Prime, there is, Disney Plus and Hulu and all these streaming platforms. But I think in the next 20 years, they might actually start thinking about going back to the cinema, because the only thing cinema creates is an experience. And that's what Ken said. And experience is why we leave our house. The reason why you go to a restaurant is not because you cannot cook your food in the house, but you need to eat in a place where you are with your friends and your family. The reason why we go to the cinema is because it's not because I can't watch this film on my laptop, but because I want to hang out with all of you. I want to be with you and watch this film and let's discuss it. The reason why I want to go dance is because I can dance alone in my house, but I want to dance with people. And that's the power of people. And that's the reason why anything we create in the future, we must think about experience. If we lose experience, we're going to lose humanity. With all this technology, we are excited about all of them. We really embrace them. But the more they divide us, the more they make us apart, the more people actually planning. So gathering becomes exclusivity, if you see what I mean. So if you make a film, then to watch it or to premiere it would be an exclusive thing. in Ken's perhaps his theater in Singapore or in Monique's theater. So I do think that's one. Anyways, that's one. Second is financing. Who is funding these films? My last film, I had to work 2 years, borrowed money from friends to be able to make my film in 2016. I've made other films then. I consider that my last film because that was the money that I funded by myself. I've made other documentaries after then. But I do think, like, who is going to fund you? Who can relate to, and people are also getting fatigued because what story are you creating? And I think, I forgot, I can't, Shreya, Shreya, I can pronounce her name properly. Shreya, yeah, she said something about people capturing moments, and like, how do you capture? And capturing moments means that we're actually documenting something for people to see. So people will actually be watching something that is interesting. The reason why the video of George Floyd that was being nailed upon became viral was because it was a thing of the moment. It was something that people were talking about. So if we ignore, a donkey jumping on YouTube, which has like 50 million views and everybody's laughing at it, but there are other issues. So we would need conscious content. We are all entertained. We can be entertained. But I do think there is a need for conscious arts. And that's what people will be diving into, because it's very easy to get entertained. Commercially, it's very easy to get entertained. But how do we get ourselves informed and aligned with the current world's problem? And how do we solve it? So that's where people are going into. And that's where the pitch, if you pitch any film that is in line with all of this, perhaps you will get funded. But if it's another love story, if it's another, bubbly, making myself happy story, perhaps, this is my opinion, perhaps you might not get funding. The funding lies with how serious is the subject matter.
Thank you so much. Yes, absolutely. So we are, that's for sure, social creatures. And I even miss people sitting next to me watching movie and eating crisps. I mean, imagine that. So we've got another question from Annika, right?
Yeah, I have another question from the audience, and it's for Eli Jean. Can you tell us more about Orientalist stereotypes in the gay dating world and how they became clearer and more obvious during lockdown, and how it has inspired your filmmaking?
Oh,
Oh, that's a good question.
well, yeah, I'll talk like based on what I've heard, like from the people I interviewed, from my own experience, like sometimes being on a dating apps. And I guess, and I worked a lot on the theme of masculinity in general, and how sometimes the migrant man or like men coming from backgrounds sometimes are orientalized or fetishized, like for their like backgrounds, so they have like expectations related to men based on the race and color and place of birth. So it was like, it's something like many, I guess, LGBT and gay men from backgrounds are living and still like going through on the dating apps, and it's very like sad, because like being like discriminated in the world, like it's something, being discriminated in your community, the LGBT community that faced discrimination many years, very sad, and being sometimes racist. We have like on dating apps, like people saying no Arabs, or like no Asian, or no black, or like fetishize like people based on this. Like it's sad, and yeah, and when I talk to one of the people like in my film, and he told me the story about dating a man, he was in him, this is Arab, and then when he knew that he was not Muslim, he was turned off because of that. So it was like shocking to me, and yeah, I wanted like to have this point in the documentary talking about this.
So thank you. Is there another question?
Yeah, I have one for Ken. It's about the pitch. Ken, will the Lou musical ever come to life?
Could you say that again?
Will the Lou musical from your film The Pitch ever come to life?
A sequel, maybe.
Well, so there has been, I guess, a happier ending than a one-man musical about toilets in real life. In that, as I mentioned earlier on, the three theater companies who commissioned this film really to raise funds during a time of crises because the theaters were closed and there was no income to pay their staff. I'm happy to say that the film raised 120,000 Singapore dollars for the three theater companies. They could keep their staff
Yes.
paid, and thank you, and to create, to do what they do, not just to sort of to tell the stories, but for all the backstage people, all the tech people, the people that all filmmakers are familiar with too, your gaffers, your grips, your crew people who have, families to feed. Soon after the pitch, instead of a Lou musical, they commissioned me to write another story. It was a full-length play called The Commission. And in it, the three theater companies again end up fighting each other because they can't agree about how to stage a modern version of Macbeth. I mean, their versions of Macbeth, Shakespeare's Macbeth. So that became a play about the value of art. So some of the themes that we touched on, like as light comedy in the film, we took on a little bit more seriously in a full-length play that was staged recently when theaters reopened. I'd like to add a little here to Anika's question, actually, and what Taye was saying earlier on, that about the future of cinema, because I think that whether or not, right now we're living in a time, I think that the consumer is very lucky because they can have anything they want to watch. Anything that you want to watch on Netflix or anything that you want to watch on social media is there for you, whether it's serious art or goofy entertainment, it's all there. But I think for independent filmmakers we are on the other side. We have to convince financiers and distributors that the stories that we want to tell are worth commissioning. So Netflix will not hesitate to finance a star-driven superhero movie with Tom Hardy. But will they finance a smaller film, a smaller film by Eli Jean, by Shreya Patel? Will they finance a smaller film that has its own legitimate and important message to say? I think that's the question to ask about the future. It has always been a battle between the big monsters of Hollywood studio system type versus independent filmmakers like us. So the question is, will the pandemic change these finance and distribution systems? Will we get to show our films in the big cinema if in the end the pressure is really still for movie houses to show tentpole movies?
Would it be possible to answer him?
Yes, of course. Yeah.
It's a difficult.
Ken, Sam would like to answer you, but let me just say one sentence right now. I think that's exactly the idea of the Unified Film Festival, the Unified Filmmakers Film Festival, to stay together, to spread the idea, and to spread good movies, right? So, but Sam, now it's on you.
I just wanted to say regarding the whole subject of, I'm guessing this is our biggest issues as filmmakers, which is financing your film. Yes, I do agree. It's since there is this whole elevation in making a lot of movies, and say, let's take for example Netflix financing people to make movies for them. At the same time, we unfortunately have to be extremely realistic when it comes to making a movie, because as any other business, whether it was filmmaking or anything else, there's supply and demand. If a consumer is, at the end of the day, if we're talking from a business perspective, if a consumer wants or is watching this kind of movie, Netflix will not go around and taking this completely artistic masterpiece and put it on. And the biggest showcase of this was The Irishman. Martin Scorsese barely got funding for his film. And we're talking about Martin Scorsese here. Yeah. And so Netflix, Irishman took almost 9 years to get its funding, and yes, it is $150 million, but still, the great Martin Scorsese, the best filmmaker, arguably the best filmmaker of our time, spent 9 years trying to get funding for his film, and even from Netflix. So I think filmmaking, to be honest, is a very dog-eat-dog world. You have to fight to be able to make your film, and I don't think it's regarding any pandemic at all, whether it was before the pandemic or after the pandemic. If you want to make your film, you cannot expect to just pitch it to anyone and then be like, there you go, here's a couple of $1,000, go make your film. I think that is never the case, whether it was a pandemic or not. Arguably, I'm not the most optimistic person when it comes to these situations, even though I had a pretty optimistic answer.
But what's your advice? I mean, we've got maybe filmmakers in the future here sitting or listening or watching.
See, I don't really think there's much of an advice. I think if you're a filmmaker at heart and you really like making movies, I cannot swear. Oh, I was gonna swear right there. If you're like a really passionate filmmaker and you really want to make movies, it doesn't matter if you have the financing or not. And I know it's very easy to say it doesn't matter. You can make a movie with your phone and all that. Okay, I was gonna swear again, and all that business. But at the end of the day, you can always find some way, somehow, some method to produce and story and make a story. I completely can say this from experience right now, from trying to make my own film during the summer, because it's like I don't have financing, and I'm pretty sure no one will give me a single dime to make it. But at the same time, I'm gonna struggle, and I'm gonna be like, okay, I'm gonna have to maybe not eat for the next 2 months, but oh well, I'm gonna have to make my film, because if I don't make my film, well, what else is there to do? What am I gonna do? And I guess it's a very risky market, and it's very easy to, I'm not gonna say complain, but it's very easy to comment on the whole situation and say, well, there's so many movies out there, there's so many filmmakers out there, you can't get financing for your film or whatever. But that's unfortunately the realism behind the whole thing. Okay. Sometimes you get financed, sometimes you don't.
I think Taye Balogun wants to answer something. Did you raise your hand?
Yes,
Go ahead.
I did. I just wanted to say, you know, we have to be. I mean, since this word viral came about, I think like 10 years ago, I think it's one of the deadliest things that's ever happened to content, because everybody wants everything to go viral. And having said that, I do agree to some extent, not fully, with what you just said. Martin Scorsese himself actually said, you know, if you have an option of being another, you know, doing another thing in life except from film, then you should go do another thing, because film is film. Like, if you are not passionate, you can't be in it. And to make a film, it's just a very favorable, very it's a niche. I mean, to be able to even gather money to even get your film to be shot, it's something worthy. And I think we need to be also aware that we filmmakers, we are like chefs. Our work is to understand who is eating our food before we even make it. Because I can't make lovely food and make a grilled chicken, and I invite all of you, and all of you say, oh, we are vegetarians. So I need to study who my audience are. I need to know who is coming to eat my food, so that I make my food prepare for them. So the notion of, I'm just gonna make a film, if you make your film for awards, and I'm sorry to all the awards, I mean, bravo to all of you, but I'm just saying, if you make your film for awards, you want to be known, you want to be seen, then you are not actually making film for the passion of it. But if you make your film for history, for documentation, for the passion of wanting to tell a story that connects with you, then someone somewhere will connect with your film And perhaps if that is what they call viral, then that perhaps would happen. And I think, more and more we talk about funding of films. And I think one of the biggest problems for us, I mean, for African filmmakers, those that I've spoken to, is distribution. It's like throwing a big party and nobody comes there. Like, who knows about your party? And you're like, oh my God, guys, I had a crazy party last night. But nobody knows until we start, thinking about how to distribute the film. Who are the audience? And where can we find them? Because you can make a beautiful film and keep it on your laptop or your hard drive. And I think that's where we, as African filmmakers, we're actually doing. And that's the strength. And when I spoke to Florian at first and the team and Anika and all of them, the first thing I said is this is just a brilliant idea. First, bringing filmmakers together. Because now, if, for instance, Ken makes a film or Patel makes a film or, everybody makes a film, they can just reach out to me and say, Taye, I've got this film. Can you screen it in your own country? And I'll say, yes, of course. I can start with my friends, start with my family, start with, students that I teach and things like that. And that's how we grow it. Because the joy of every filmmaker is for your film to be seen. So this is just a submission. I'm not, it's just a submission.
Thank you so much. Yeah, Sevgi, I'm interested in your opinion to that, because you worked in Turkey. You turned your movie in Turkey, and also your second, I think. You're just making plans, doing next movie in autumn, I think. I can't imagine Erdogan sitting, watching Netflix, laughing about the pitch maybe, or being crazy about Eli Jean's work. Why did you choose Turkey as your home office?
For the first film, because of the budget problems and so on, and I was thinking my family will help me in my first project, that's why I was choosing this location. Grandparents and village town will help me. But in my country, when I'm shooting my first feature film, when you're seeing, when you're hearing is different. Of course, when you hear in my city, there's a film festival, very big film festival, and always very popular people are coming. And I was so happy that I was thinking in my film festival, when I'm making in the town with my people, and I'm from this town also, I think they will be proud. And I think maybe they will give chance to us and so on. You are having a feeling for it. And when I made my first feature film, exactly we got around 10 awards internationally. We never had expectation of earning money or getting awards when we're making a movie. We never have expectations. We just have expectation of sharing our stories and sharing with more people, and question answer is always enough for us. That's why you always have little expectation to have this question answer here and talk little interview and so on. That when it's not happening, then you are seeing another perspective of the filmmaking. Then you're facing off it. Do you want to make a movie of the serving the industry, or you want to make your own independent filmmaking? I discovered independent filmmaking is very special, and we have to go for it. And unified filmmaker is, I really love it exactly in this point. Doesn't look for the popularity or something, it's just looking for the story. And especially, I'm really wondering right now for the next year, because each year subject and stories are changing. Next year they are focusing on another world story, world and social subjects. That's why I'm really impressed. Now, I don't know, I was in the jury this year, but I want to make the next year my own movie, and I try to catch with this film festival again the next subject of the story.
Oh, that's fantastic. Okay. And you know what will be the next subject of the unified filmmaker?
For the unified filmmaker next year subject, I don't know yet, but I was writing
May I tell her? Yes. Yes, I may, yeah. So there's another global subject. It's the climate change.
Wow.
Okay? And I'm afraid it won't be over then. Maybe COVID, okay, cross your fingers, we will see. So we have to close slowly, and I really would like to know what Shreya Patel, what will you do next time? So what can we expect from you in future? What's your next film project?
I actually was in India because I was going to do a transgender rights documentary, but India got into a lockdown, so that is on a halt right now. But currently in Canada, in August, I'm shooting couple of things. I wrote a comedy web series this time around because I wanted people to laugh. Shooting that in August, and I'm also shooting another film about mental health amongst actors, which is also happening in August as an actor.
Fantastic. So Ken Kwek, you already told us about your your sequel. Any other plans you can tell us about right now? Oh, we can't hear you. Oh, that's nice. Like the beginning, now the
Sorry,
end.
I'm
The
here.
circle is
I'm
closing.
here,
Oh
I'm
no,
here.
okay.
That was yeah.
Yes.
I've just completed. I completed a feature film just before the pandemic hit. It's called Three Little Pigs. It's about the LGBTQ rights fight in Singapore, where gay rights actually it's still illegal here, amazingly. So it's a feature film about that story, and I'm working on a short animated film which may have a climate change theme. So looking forward to next year.
Yeah, so thank you for that. So maybe you can connect as well with Eli Jean. Eli Jean, go ahead. Next subject, maybe something about theaters, the pitch.
No, very different. Just finished the shooting of my new documentary. It's called Neighbors in My Backyard, and it's about a fence in Montreal separating a rich neighborhood from a migrant poor neighborhood. So it's been like here for 6 years, and so I'm doing a documentary about this urban segregation, separating classes in Canada. In Montreal.
Interesting. Yes, thank you very much. Taye Balogun.
Thank you. Currently, we're working on the first edition of the NGO International Film Festival. It's an NGO. It's a festival based on knowledge curation and knowledge sharing within the civil society and humanitarian sector. I'm working with an amazing team, as well as partnering with Unified Film Fest as well. In January next year, I'm working on my 8th feature film, which is going to be a film that I'm also executive producing. It's called Revolution Road. It's about this young underdog who is vying for election from our community. So it's a female lead character. It's a feminist film. So I'm really excited about that. It's actually musical as well. So you're going to be hearing some African beats there and things like that. So please kindly watch out.
Oh, fantastic. Okay. So, Sevgi, you already answered, but maybe you've got...
For the second feature film, I also wrote feature film project drama, social drama will be again in my city because of the budget problems again. We are saving our own budget and we make our own movies. I wanted to make this movie this year. I couldn't make it out. And that's why at the end of the year, I will try again one more time.
Yes. Oh, yes, please. Okay. So, Sembatur, now with your award in your hand.
Oh, you see, yeah, this award is going to fund my next film. So, yeah, I'm working on a short film that I hopefully will be able to shoot in the next month. And it's a very simple story about the last person on Earth that's just living alone in a forest that suddenly gets a knock. And yeah, and everything goes to, I can't swear, but everything goes to rubbles. And so, yeah, hopefully, thank God I got this award because now I can make the film. And yeah, I'm really excited, honestly. So this is why I was really, how to say, weirded out yesterday when I was on stage, because I was really like, finally, I can make a film.
You're welcome. You're welcome. We do our very best. So thank you all so much. And I really would like to have a great party with you, or even a film festival. I think it went quite well on Zoom. But anyway, I would like to to be a little bit closer to everybody. But thank you so much for your time, for your movies, for your passion, and for your optimism. Okay, see you next year, maybe. I hope so. And soon in real life. Thank you very much.